A football media day means that football is imminent in the Big Ten. It's even more imminent for Scott Frost and Brett Bielema, the head coaches of Nebraska and Illinois. They will open up on August 28th, going head-to-head, a Week 0 matchup that was originally scheduled to be in Ireland, but of course will be here on American soil. And you see the outlook for the Huskers looking to turn the corner here for Scott Frost in year 4 and get back into a winning season, something that hasn't happened since 2016. Certainly have some key pieces in place, including quarterback Adrian Martinez, set to start once again his 4th season at the helm of the Huskers, and very pleased to be joined now by Scott Frost, the head coach at Nebraska. And Scott, it's been an interesting couple weeks in Lincoln. You have a new AD now in Trev Albert, someone who, much like you, knows all about the glory days of Nebraska football and just how great this program could be. What have your kind of early discussions been with Trev about what it's going to take to get to that point that both you and he, I know, expected to be at?
Yeah, all the coaches in Nebraska couldn't be happier that we landed on Trev. He's a guy that shares our passion for Nebraska, the people in Nebraska, and the university. He shares an intimate knowledge of the unique aspects of being at Nebraska, and I think shares a lot of the same visions for where we expect our athletic department and football team to go.
Scott, what are some of those unique things that someone from the outside wouldn't necessarily know like Trev knows?
Well, Nebraska's a unique place, one in that it's the only show in town in Nebraska. Every set of eyes is on us. There's unbelievable resources in Nebraska because it's all pointed toward the University of Nebraska and our football program and our other sports programs. There's also a lot of criticism that goes along with that and a lot of scrutiny. There really is no place like Nebraska, and Trev understands that.
I want to switch gears a little bit here and talk about your team. You've recruited really well, but you've also gotten into that transfer portal and gotten some guys out of there. So who are some early impact guys that you have as freshmen coming in and also some instant impact guys out of the portal?
You know, we recruited really well, some really good freshmen. I hope it gets harder and harder for freshmen to play on our football team. As we keep building talent and depth, I think it's going to be harder for newcomers to come in. That being said, we're going to play the best player that we can. I might point to Samari Toure, a receiver for us that came from the University of Montana. Think a lot about that program. He had unbelievable numbers and production there, and I think he's going to be a big asset to us on the offensive side.
Coach, I read somewhere where you slowed down the reps on your offense during practice. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, what made you do that? No,
that's not completely true. We're never going to change the fundamentals and basics of our offense. This league's a little different than some of the other leagues I've coached in, Coach. And in general, we get fewer offensive snaps per game in this league. This league's really well coached, and there's talent on every team. We think we need to be a little smarter with our reps and smarter with when we use our tempo, but the base of our offense won't change.
You mentioned in the press conference earlier about how excited you were for this team, something a little bit different about this team this year. What exactly is it that has you so excited?
There's a whole different feel about our team. And listen, anything that we're going to accomplish, we need to go out and earn. I'm not trying to sell anything that isn't there, but when you walk into the building, there's a whole different feel because of the type of character kid that we have in the building and just the unity of the team right now.
You and I talked a little bit about this earlier. I find it really fascinating, and it's not unique to you. And this happens all over college football in an opener. But you do have this challenge with Illinois of not really knowing who they're going to be and what their identity is going to be. And certainly Brett isn't going to let you know. He's not going to put it all out on the table. So how much bigger of a challenge is it in terms of looking at the history of each one of the coordinators and the history of the head coach and trying to piece together a game plan for an opponent like Illinois?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's certainly not as easy as putting on last year's tape with the same coordinators or in the middle of the season putting on the last 2 games and seeing what they're doing. We're going to have to piece it together a little more than that. That being said, in a lot of games you go into in this league, you line up and all of a sudden there's something new that you haven't seen that they've installed for you. So we're going to have to try to have a game plan that's going to be efficient against anything that we see, and we're going to have to do our best to adjust.
One of the constants for you has been Adrian Martinez at quarterback, and last year it completed more than 71% of his passes, so incredibly accurate. You were talking earlier about Samari Toure and kind of this notion of who's going to be a game breaker for you guys, and it feels to me like that's the the missing piece here is you've got an accurate offense. Can you be a more explosive offense, and can you take care of the ball? How has Adrian evolved his game from the end of last year to where he is now to do those things?
Well, I think first and foremost, Adrian's comfortable with who he is and where he is now. He came in and earned the job as an 18-year-old, had a phenomenal freshman season. I don't think his sophomore season went as well as any of us would have wanted to, not just him, but as a team. I think he's been through the highs and lows of being Nebraska quarterback and having that spotlight on him, and I think he's really comfortable with that and that challenge now, and I see a confident, determined young man with a lot better pieces around him than he's had in his first 3 years.
Coach, there's some new rules about how much contact you can have in camp. Does that change much of what you do? Were you in favor of the rule change?
Yeah, we don't have anything to do with the rule change. You know that. Yeah. That being said, I don't think it's going to change us much, and I don't think it'll change most people. Fall camps aren't just line up and tackle each other to the ground every play anymore like the Junction Boys.
Right.
We try to take care of our student athletes and get them as ready to play as we can without risking getting them hurt. And the number of days they gave us in helmets only and shoulder pads and helmets and full pads, I don't think will change our approach very much.
You renew your rivalry with Oklahoma this year, and I mentioned this earlier. I was talking to Mike Loxley about Maryland and West Virginia, and that maybe people who are longtime Big Ten fans don't understand the implications of rivalries. I mean, it didn't get much better than Nebraska and Oklahoma nationally played some of the most significant games in the history of college football. So give people who may not understand that rivalry a little bit of a primer of what it's all about.
Well, I'm sitting here on the Big Ten stage, and there's dozens of good rivalries in this league that have gone back 100 years. In my lifetime, growing up around Nebraska football and being around it, there was nothing better than Nebraska-Oklahoma. And for a long time, the winner of that game had a great chance to win the conference, have a shot at the national championship. That's the rivalry that I grew up with. I know our players are really excited to go down there and have a chance.
You spoke earlier when you were at the podium about penalties, turnovers, special teams, some of the things that you really want to address, and you feel like your team has embraced that. How do you coach those type of things differently when you think they've been an issue in the past?
I think some of it, Coach, will happen organically and naturally. If you have a young team, you're more prone to making mistakes, and we've had a young team for 3 years. Right. We're still a little bit young, but we're a lot more experienced than we've been. And I think the other big step is getting the kids to recognize that those things are issues and things that we can improve on. And we've lost too many close games since I've been at Nebraska, and usually that comes down to one play or two, one play on special teams or one turnover here and there. And the guys understand if they get that fixed, we're going to have a better chance.
Well, and that's kind of where I was going to go with the close games and everything else. Having a more mature team, a more experienced team, do you think that definitely puts you over the edge when it comes down to those critical situations?
It could put us over the edge as long as the kids are attentive to it and we get it fixed. And that's my job as head coach and our staff's job and the players' job to make sure that we're all paying attention to those things.
Coach, we were talking a little bit about Adrian Martinez, and you had mentioned some of the additions at wide receiver. I'm really interested in the running back spot. It kind of looks to me from the outside before we get to camp and whatnot as kind of a running back by committee approach, perhaps. Do you see it that way, or is your hope that someone emerges and becomes kind of a bell cow?
Yeah, I don't want it to be running back by committee. There's a lot of positions on our team that I think are pretty solidified of who's going to be playing and other guys trying to play up to their level. Running back's one that there's a lot of guys that are going to have an opportunity, and I want it to see it be really competitive. I don't want to come out of it with 4 running backs. I want to find out who our number 1 guy is and who our number 2 guy is, and those guys are going to get the bulk of the carries.
You know, Coach, when you played and around that era, Nebraska always had the best training table, the best weight program, the best facilities. It seems like you're addressing now the arms race and building a new facility. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Nebraska's always been an innovator, Coach. When it came to strength and conditioning, nutrition, life skills, academic support, Nebraska's always been the cutting edge of those things. When I played there, I used to think, man, all I have to do is show up and play because everything else is taken care of for me. We've fallen behind a little bit in some areas. Those areas are still really strong. I think with the changes in college football, we're going to have a chance to try to be at the forefront of and of college football again and be innovators again. It's great to have Trev Alberts alongside because I know he thinks the same way I do.
Scott, we were talking a little bit earlier about NIL and the opportunities for Nebraska student athletes. How have you tried to work kind of to get guys into position to take advantage of this new rule?
A lot of the NIL things I think will happen naturally and organically. There's a lot of interest in our football program. Nebraska is uniquely equipped to flourish in NIL. There's no pro team in Nebraska. There's no Nebraska State. The eyes of every Nebraska fan are on us and our players. Our players can really capitalize on that, and we're trying to clear as many pathways as we can so we can be innovative in that area. And I think our administration's done a good job of laying the groundwork for that, and I think it's coming pretty soon.
Head coach of the Huskers, Scott Frost, always a pleasure. Thanks a lot, Coach. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for what you do, fellas. Appreciate you.
Cornhuskers here in Indianapolis. You see on the Radio Row earlier today. Of course, always a ton of media coverage surrounding Nebraska football, and that continuing here today is Nebraska very much in the spotlight, and they'll be in the spotlight week 1 as well. Again, that game we talked about with the Illinois players just a few minutes ago, that opener on August the 28th against the Fighting Illini before going out of conference for 3 games, including a matchup with longtime rival Oklahoma September 18th on Fox before they re-enter conference play against Michigan State. And happy to have 3 of the Huskers here with us as we're joined by Austin Allen, Ben Stille, and Deontai Williams. Guys, welcome. Great to have you with us. Let's dive into this. And we all know what the expectations are for Nebraska football. I know you probably all feel, hey, haven't been able to meet them yet in your career. What's it going to take for this program to take that step forward this year, Austin, and be the team that I think you all believe you can be?
Yeah, I think that begins with us taking care of ourselves in the turnover aspect of the games. We've lost a lot of one-score games. I think you could trace that back to turnovers, and you can trace that back to penalties. So I think if we take care of those little mistakes, I think the little mistakes will take care of the big mistakes and lead us to more victories.
Ben?
Yeah, I think, just us holding other players and ourselves to a higher level of accountability is definitely been an emphasis for us this offseason, and something we think will take care of some of those self-inflicted wounds we've been having.
How do you view it, Deontai? What do you do to take that step forward?
Limiting X amount of plays, being very paying attention to the details, and also just that bond and chemistry that we have together.
Yeah, you guys are all elder statesmen on this team, so I want to play off that chemistry comment of yours. Leadership is so important to have great chemistry. So how do each of you lead? Deontai, let me know, what kind of leader are you?
I'm the type of leader that's just on and off the field. I'm gonna give you 100% for sure. So I know the young guys watch me throughout workouts, throughout practice, and see how I attack every day. So,
Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's important just for the players to see you leading, and just to see you to set the level for effort, set the standard for that, and just doing the little things. I think that's a really important aspect for them to see. I like to take guys aside one-on-one and really help them in that aspect, but then speak what's on my heart, in front of the group when that's needed as well.
Austin?
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is being able to speak up when times are tough. I mean, in practice, when everybody's huffing and puffing, that's when the time I feel like I could be the most vocal. I feel like that's my biggest attribute to that leadership comment.
Ben and Deontai, you guys both elected to come back for a 6th year, and these are interesting times in college football. I mean, you have the ability to go anywhere you want, play for anyone you want. You don't have to sit out. What made you convinced that this was the right place for you?
The fans. You got fans, a crazy fan base. They always have your back, win or loss. The coaching staff, great coaching staff. I chose Frost because he had a mission to get this program back at top. So that's my goal as well.
How about you, Ben?
Really, the coaches played a big role in it. Position coaches, our coordinators, and our head coach played a big role in that. But also, really, just us as seniors and old guys, as super seniors, really wanting to leave this place in a better place than we found it. And how the last season finished for us didn't really sit right with us.
It's interesting. You play for one of the great Huskers in Scott Frost, someone who's known incredible success in this program. So you have a coach who you're around every day who's been a part of the glory years of Nebraska football. Now you have an athletic director who's been a part of that as well in Trev Alberts. I realize it's very early in his tenure, but to what extent have you been able to interact with him and to get a sense for what makes him tick, Austin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was actually on the search committee to try and get him try to pick a new athletic director for the university, but I think he's a very well-spoken guy. He showed that in his opening press conference the other day. He's a guy that's been in my shoes throughout my whole college career. I mean, he played for Nebraska football. I mean, he knows exactly what I'm going through, what I'm going to go through. I mean, he's been a college graduate. He played at the next level. He's been everywhere where I've been, where I am now, and where I'm going to be. So I think it's unique to have a guy like that in a position to oversee our whole university.
That must have been a really cool experience to be on that search committee. What were the attributes that you as a student athlete were looking for in an athletic director?
Yeah, somebody who can lead. I mean, you at that position as an athletic director, you need to lead. And I think the biggest thing I said, what's on everybody's mind right now as an athlete, is NIL. And I think you need to find somebody who is going to be able to weave through the whole unknown of what NIL is going to bring to college athletics. And I think Trev Alberts is going to be a guy that he's either going to get it done right, or he's going to hire his company to help us understand and help us get it right. Because I feel like Nebraska has the biggest brand and biggest market for us to capitalize on the NIL.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about NIL. And Ben, I saw that you and JoJo Doman had a youth camp that you ran last week. And again, a chance to give back to the community, but also a chance to profit off the fact that you're well known and that there are young people who would want to learn from you. Tell us, we're seeing pictures of it right now. Give us a sense of what you took away from that and the meaning that you attached to that.
Yeah, really a lot of it was an awesome chance just to interact with these kids on a more personal level, allow them to not just see us as people on the TV screen, but to bring a realness to us and to, bring to reality, maybe help them bridge their gap between their dreams of hopefully being one day a Husker football player.
Deontai, how are you viewing this NIL opportunity?
Well, give us a great opportunity to market ourselves. Also give us a great opportunity to help grow our brand after college football, after whatever the next level is, the NFL, and grow your brand after that as well. So I feel like this is the best opportunity for all student athletes in general.
Hey, Austin, it's no secret this offense needs to get better. We talked about it with Coach Frost earlier. You mentioned in this offseason, I'm going to use your term here, you mentioned there are some dudes who are ready to step up on this offense. Give us a sense for who some of those dudes are that we ought to expect big years from.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like we had a really young line last year, and I think those guys have rolled into a more dude job, more dude duty. They're guys that now get in year 2, year 3 of their spot here on the line, and I think they're set up for big things in this offense, and they're really what leads us to our offense clicking. I mean, they're going to get the run game started, and they're going to give us enough time for Adrian to do what he needs to do for us to get the pass game going. So I feel like on the line we got a lot of dudes this year. And I mean, in the tight end room, Travis Vokalek, he's a dude. He's for us. He started as a true freshman for Rutgers. I mean, he's got a lot of experience under his belt, and he's very capable of doing anything in the run game and pass game.
Ben and Deontai, it feels like the defense has been steadily improving here over the last few years. And Deontai, I'm particularly a fan of your secondary. I think you guys have some really talented guys back there. What's the next step for that unit?
Just keep growing, get better. We still have a lot of improvements that we need to work on. But as a group in the whole, we got as much talent to be one of the best secondary in Big Ten.
Ben, where can the defense as a whole make the biggest jump this year?
Yeah, I think really for us, we've shown spurts. We have talented guys, but for us, it's really just being consistent as a whole and play in and play out and throughout the whole season. being consistent in our scheme and doing our job to give us the best possible chance to win.
Austin, everyone always wants to know about the quarterback spot, and this year is no different. Adrian Martinez has been a staple here at Nebraska and certainly has had some really good moments. Some issues with turnovers, no doubt, and I know it's something that he's worked a great deal on. Where have you seen him develop from where he was at the end of last year to where he is heading into fall camp?
Yeah, you can tell that this means a lot to him. Playing football at the University of Nebraska, he's changed his body. He's lost 15 pounds. He looks great. He looks like a quarterback that's going to lead us in the right direction. He, like you said, he had a great freshman year, and then turnovers kind of killed him last couple of years. I mean, there's no trying to hide that fact, but he's taken on more of the role. Just talking with him, he's got nothing to lose this year. He's going to lay it all on the line. He's going to give Nebraska all he's got because Nebraska has given it all to him.
Ben and Deontai, you guys defend against this offense every day. What have you seen from Adrian in terms of his development? And Ben, I'll start with you.
Yeah, over the years, obviously, just leadership-wise, he's grown leaps and bounds there, really commands the offense in those regards. But also, I think just mentally, he's in a really good headspace currently, and I think that's going to pay dividends this year.
Deontai?
Just like what Ben said, his leadership-wise, you see how poised he is this year. I know that he don't have nothing to lose, and I'm behind him 100% as a DB. And Ben gave a great explanation of it. So,
how do you guys define success for this team this year? Deontai, we'll start with you.
Just prove the world that we could change the narrative of Nebraska Cornhusker football.
What do you want that narrative to be?
We back at the top.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, obviously, we got an opener with Illinois. And so first and foremost in our journey is win that game, come out top there. And really then our initial goal is winning the West. And that's what we're looking to accomplish first.
Yeah, what do you think about having that week 0 all to yourselves, Austin? This notion that college football really will start with that game. Certainly major college football will start with a focus on Nebraska and Illinois.
Yeah, so I kind of like having the spotlight on us on that week 0 game. It's going to be able to be an opportunity for us to showcase what we worked on the offseason and what Nebraska football is going to be this year. Look forward to that opportunity. I wish it would have been in Ireland like it was supposed to be, but right. Circumstances bearing, we get to go to Champaign and play Big Ten football week 1, so look forward to it.
All right, Austin Allen, Ben Stille, Deontai Williams. Guys, thanks a lot. Really a pleasure to visit with all three of you, and best of luck this year.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.